Good afternoon. My name is Nita. She's Kimara, Wanchen, Claire, and Kaviraj. Today we'll be presenting about the short-term memory. And Kaviraj will be doing the introduction.
Right. Now, before I present, let me tell you guys something. I was nervous to present this now, and I told Mita about it, how can I present? And don't worry, and she told me that, don't worry, I'll tell a joke just to hype up the crowd. And then, just now, she told me, and then I realized, I'm the joke. Yeah. Now, imagine that joke a few months from now. Do you think you still remember that?
Yes.
Some of you guys said no. True. Yes. And that is the namesake of our presentation, short-term memory. Short-term memory is an active memory that could hold on for a small amount of information for a short period of time, like names, locations, car number plates, color of your friend's clothes, or whatsoever. Now, short-term memory and working memory. We often say these two terms side by side often, but the ideas are the same, but the definitions are completely different. Short-term memory stores information for a short amount of time. For example, when you read a text in a book, when you read through the entire passage, at the end of the passage, you forget what you read at the beginning of the passage. Working memory, it temporarily stores, organizes, and manipulates information. For example, like video games. Like, let's take controller for example. You know the locations of the buttons in the controller, and then your mind organizes them in a sequence, which to press first, where to go first, to get the character moving. Yeah. Right. And there are many ways to improve your working memory. And these are the two main ways to improve your short-term memory. Chunking, as the previous group said, gathering them into a group of information, rehearsing, repeating the same information over and over again until it sticks in your mind. Yeah. I'll passing down to Kimara for capacity and
Hi guys, so I'll be explaining about duration and capacity. So duration is the amount of time that information can be rehearsed. So usually it's up to like 20 to 30 seconds, and sometimes, very rarely, it might last up to a minute. But also that it will be easily, like, you will easily forget it. It will just fade away. Other than that, duration is limited and can be lost due to easy distractions. And for example, simultaneous translation between a person, like with us talking in Tamil and I need to translate it to you guys in English. So like that is one of the examples of duration. And also that memorizing Google verification code it only takes a few seconds. So something like that is also can be an example of duration. So the experiment for duration that I found out was the experiment conducted by Peterson and Peterson in 1959, where he experimented 24 psychology students in a laboratory, where he set some letters and he wanted in trigrams to at different time levels. Like he took a person and told him three words letters and asked them to repeat them. And the results concluded that short-term memory duration may be around 18 seconds. And that if the information is not rehearsed, that we won't remember it in the future. And when it comes to capacity, it is by definition the amount of information that our short-term memory can hold. So usually it's around 7 items or less, but it varies with population. So the modern population right now, like us, we can remember around 4 to 5 items. So the capacity experiment was conducted by George Miller, and in 1956, that he asked a person to remember a list of without repetition or reinforcement, and asked them to tell it after he said. And then he found out that the short-term memory can hold up a capacity of 5 to 9 items. So therefore, in the average, it was 7 plus minus 2, hence known as the Miller's law. For example, that I will give you like 10 numbers, and you need to like remember it and just say it back to me. So it will be an example for this. And now I give control for serial position effect by mention.
I will talk about serial position effect. Serial position effect is the tendency of a person to recall the first and the last item in series best, while the middle item is worse. So for the recency effect is we tend to remember the last part of the series, which our brain ability to hold up 7 items in short-term memory. For example, your friend introduced you to a friend. This friend is described as kind, smart, generous, and boring. Because of the recency effect, you tend to remember the last item, which is boring, so you will think you will have the negative judgment toward the person. For primacy effect is we tend to remember the initial item, but after rehearsing, we may pass on to the long-term memory. So for example, for the marketing purpose, marketing experts are aware of cognitive bias, so they will make their first and the last impression more positive. Next. So for the past research that is carried by Glaser and Koenig, the aim of the experiment is to investigate how position of word influence serial position effect. While 240 participants will present a list of the word at the same time, while half of the participants were asked to recall immediately, another half will to ask to count backward for 30 seconds before recalling the words. So in the conclusion, the words from the beginning of the list already stopped. The person that the participant will ask to count 30 second delay will destroy their recency effect but did not affect their primacy effect. So the conclusion of the experiment is the beginning of the word of the list already stored in their long-term memory, so they tend to remember the initial item. So I will pass to Rita.
Next, we are going to talk about short-term memory loss. Short-term memory loss is basically when you forget things you just hear or you just saw recently. The cause of short-term memory loss is depression and stress. When you are depressed, it will be very difficult for you to focus on something and pay attention. Next is head injury. A severe hit to the head from a fall can injure our brain, and it can cause both long-term and short-term memory loss. The next one is sleep deprivation. Both quantity and quality of sleep are important to memory. Too little sleep can affect the ability to consolidate and retrieve information. And lastly, old age. Normal part of aging, where as people get older, they tend to forget things very easily. Here are some ways to improve short-term memory loss. First, you have to be organized, where you limit distractions and don't do too many things at once. If you focus on the information that you are trying to retain, you are more likely to remember it later. Next is social interaction. It helps depression and stress. Look for opportunities to get together with your loved ones, friends, and other people, especially if you are living alone. And lastly, sleep. Getting a good night's sleep is important because sleep plays an important role in helping you to consolidate your memories.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly run through this. Of course, our short-term memory all works somewhat similar in terms of physiological, how we remember things. It is all the same. But of course, the way we go around our lives is different, and we're going to definitely go through circumstances that differ from person to person. So short-term memory is affected once, as she mentioned, by depression. And depression, as carried out by this study, saw that basically what they did in this experiment was they studied a few depressed patients versus some assistants that worked there. To sum it all out, the depressed patients actually scored worse on their task compared to the normal people that did not have depression. So in conclusion, I could sum up all of us, but since I find it very apt that we're the very last group, perhaps what I should do is conclude everyone's one. It is interesting that all of us can do all of these things, remember all of this, talk different languages, remember different things. respond to the alarm going off, for example. So we all know that these things happen, but we don't know how they work. And that's the beauty of it. What we should do is we appreciate every single thing that we've learned here. If you learn about short-term, long-term bilingualism, mnemonics, we've appreciated this and we learned a little more, and that's the whole point of everyone's presentations, if I'm not wrong. Okay. There you go.